Hi, I'm Marius from Cmos Photography, and in this video we are going to look at the Canon Powershot SX50hs. Now when we quickly look at the camera, you'll notice it's got a very SLR-like feel to it, but in a lot more compact and more portable body. And what you get in this camera is a super zoom lens, and you're going to see exactly when we look in a few minutes at the reach of the zoom, how far you can actually zoom. This thing has got an amazing reach, amazing zoom lens. And it's also got a very nice macro function where you can basically take the camera and put it on a subject, and you can take very up close images in the macro mode as well. Everything built into this small little body. Now before we look at the features, I just want to talk about the build quality. If you look at the camera, obviously it's made of plastic, but when you hold it in your hand, it doesn't feel like a toy. If you take it like this and you just press on it, you can feel it's solidly built. So now that we've looked at it like this, let's go up close and we'll look at the features, and I'll show you some videos and some pictures to show you exactly what it's going to look like when you've got this camera. So those images will also be on my blog. So you can go there, the link will be here below. And you can go download the images on the blog, and you can see for yourself the quality which you can get with this little camera. As I don't want to say I'm giving this camera 10 out of 10 or 8 out of 10, I want to show you video and also pictures so that you can make up your own mind if this is the camera for you. So let's have a closer look at it. So when we look at the front of the camera, you can see the camera's got a very nice lens, and the maximum aperture when shooting in wide will be 3.4, and then when zoomed in it'll be 6.5. Then when we focus on the grip, you'll see it's got a very nice curve to it, so when you've got the camera in your hand, it's very comfortable. Now this camera falls into the super zoom category. As you can see when you read here on the lens, it says Canon zoom lens 50 times. Now the IS next to the 50 times stands for image stabilizer. So let's look at the zoom lens a little closer by looking at the top of the camera. Now we can see the lens is fully extended, and it starts at 24mm, which is great for landscapes, and then it zooms in all the way. And what that looks like, as you can see, it's a pretty long lens. That'll now be 24mm, and that is 1200mm. Now to give you an idea as to how far this is, I've taken a video at Rhodes Memorial in Cape Town in full HD to show you what it looks like when you actually zoom in all the way. Okay, now this is the camera at 1x optical, and 2x, 4x, 10x, 20x, 30, 40, and then finally 50. Now as you can see, this thing has got an amazing reach. At 50 times you really need to keep the camera as still as possible. I'm going to zoom out again so you can see exactly what the reach is on 50 times optical. It's really amazing. Now you might have noticed that I can use my full zoom range in video mode shooting at full HD. So while still on the subject of video, let's look at another 2 quick video snippets. Now still looking at the top of the camera, you can see here we've got our exposure dial going all the way from full auto to full manual. So if you are starting out with photography and you want to grow, but you don't want to spend now all the money on SLR camera, this is a very nifty little camera to invest in, as you've got full manual control of all the settings. So you can set your shutter, your aperture, your ISO, your white balance. everything is there for you, and you can then obviously now learn a lot about photography. Now when you look at the flash option, you've got a pop-up flash right here, which you can open manually. As you can see right here, it's a little off out of the video now, but you can see I can open it manually. But there's also a hot shoe. So if you look right here, you can see, nice in focus, you can see the hot shoe, which is crucial if you want to attach a larger flash like a Canon Speedlight. And then also the moment you start to grow in photography and you start to learn about light and play around with it, you're going to soon find out that flashes are very cool. And the moment you start to play with off-camera flash, you can really take some creative images. Now to give you an idea as to what is possible with this camera, this is now a very basic setup, but I have taken the following image using two flashes. Now the one flash is lighting the cross, and then the other flash is creating the color on the background. So I've taken a flash and I've gelled the flash of a color that goes in front of the flash. And the current color you're looking at is called Follies Pink. And then there's also this one, which is called Smoky Pink. So you can see the difference between the background. And this was done using a flash. I don't have any paper in the background. It's just a white wall or just a white empty PVC background I've got. And I'm just shooting the color onto the background. So this is very basic, but this is where you can go. And this camera can get you there because of that hot shoe. So that hot shoe for me is absolutely crucial. It makes this camera the type of camera you can invest in and then can grow as a photographer to in the end buy an SLR camera. So when you look at the side of the camera, you can see this little flap that you can open. It's got some icons there on the flap as well. Now if I open it up, you can see here at the top, it's got an option to put a cable release in, so you can have a cable in your hand, which has got buttons on, and you can fire the camera. You can take images from that cable. You don't have to use the shutter button here on the camera. And it's also got an AV output right here, but then, which is going to be a lot better, we've got the HDMI output here, so you can plug a cable in there and then plug it straight into your TV. Your high definition LCD or whatever TV you've got, and then just watch your videos captured on the camera directly on your TV. Just going to close this thing here again. Now when we look at the other side of the camera, you're going to see two buttons. Now the one at the top is called Framing Assist Seek. So when you are zoomed in like very far, and as you saw, this camera has got a very long zoom. So now when you are zooming in so far, you can only see a very small portion of where you are zooming into. So if you're taking a picture of someone very far and that person is just moving slightly, you've lost them in your frame and you can't see them anymore. So when you press this button, the camera will quickly zoom back and it will show you a little bit more of everything that's going on in the frame. And then you just recompose, and the moment you let go of that button at the top, it just goes back to where you were last zooming, and then you can see where you were. Okay, then the second button is called Framing Assist Lock, and I'm going to be honest with you, I have not used it yet, so I haven't tested it out, but yeah, that's what it's called. So when you look at the back of the camera, this is where there's a ton of little buttons and stuff, and we're going to look at them in a little bit more detail. But the first thing I just want to mention, which is very awesome, is the LCD screen. So here at the top, you've got your viewfinder, and here you've got your flip out LCD screen. So when you open this up, you can see that this screen, I'm just going to get the focus on the screen here, this screen can rotate. So when it's in this mode, you can see yourself when you want, maybe you're a blogger and you want to record some videos of yourself, of basically yourself talking. You can just flip the screen around and you can see what you are doing, which is really very awesome. Like for instance, on the camera I'm recording now, I don't have a flip out screen. So when I'm recording a video myself, it takes me a lot of setup time to get everything perfectly right. So with this, you can just use the LCD screen, just flip it around and you've got an instant solution for that. So this is very handy, and why I also love this is you can be a lot more creative. If you're starting out with photography and you're all about learning composition and very interesting angles, this is really very helpful, as you can maybe take a picture of something very high up and you can't get there to take the picture, but you can take the camera and just lift your hands and put the camera maybe in a corner where you want to take a picture, and just flip the screen around and you can see what's going on on your LCD screen. So it makes it very easy to be creative that way. Right, so I'm going to close this now. So when we look at the rest of the backside of the camera, you can see we've got a preview button so that we can preview the images that we've taken. Then there's also this very nice thumb rest here. And you'll see it's got these little bumps there, which makes it a lot more comfortable in your hand. And then right next to that, you've got your dedicated video record button. And then there's this button right here, which is very awesome. As you can see, the camera, if I was taking a picture now, the camera would have tried to focus in this section right here. You can now press this button, and then with these corners of this round wheel, you can move that around. So if you want to have focus on something in this corner, you can then tell the camera, well, please focus there for me. So you can move this around, which is very cool. Right, when you're happy, you just press it, it's going to stay in place there. Then below this round wheel, you'll find a menu buttons. If you press that, that's going to take you to all your cameras, like settings. As you can see here, AF frame, autofocus, point zoom. You've got all the rest of all your functions and stuff here. I'm not going to go into detail on this. And you've got a DISP point button, which is display. So what you do is, if you press it again, you're going to get like histogram and stuff are going to open up right here. And if you press it again, you'll see the image on the video. You can see it's lighting up there on the inside. So the inside viewfinder LCD is just turned on. Now when you press it again, it's going to turn the histogram and stuff on inside the viewfinder here. And then when you press it again, it's going to just go back here. So it's always going to be a double press to go from the one to the other. And then when we finally come to this wheel, now here is a ton of options. You're going to see, for instance, here's my shutter speed, that when I'm turning this dial, it's got a little wheel you can just turn around here. This will allow me to set my shutter speed. Now if I'm working, for instance, in say manual, which is now there, it's also very, very easy to set this. As when I'm turning this wheel, I'm setting the shutter speed, and then when I want to go over to the aperture, I just press this little plus minus exposure compensation block thingy they've got there. When you press that, it's changing over to the aperture. So now I can set the aperture again. So they really have made it very, very easy to do your settings. Right, so that is what this wheel will do. It's how to change your shutter and aperture. And then you've got your exposure compensation block. So if you press this, you can now compensate to shoot the image either brighter or darker. And then next to that, now this is, you just press on these right here. Now you don't press right in the middle, because then you're going to hit the function. And I'm going to tell you what's in the function. There's also a ton of settings and stuff right in there. So yeah, you can choose, say, manual function, manual focus, or you can tell the camera to focus by itself, or to go to the macro modes. If you go to this one, you're shooting macro pictures, because then you can focus very close to the subject. If you press this one, it will take you to, I just got to this function here. Right, if you press this one, you can turn your self timer on, so like 10 seconds or 2 seconds. And then we come to a very important one, and a lot of people don't always know the importance of ISO, but ISO is really, really important. Now with ISO, it's your light sensitivity of your camera sensor. So if you are in a low light situation and the camera can't take a picture, it's going to be too blurry, you can increase your ISO. And by increasing the ISO, you are letting in more light, because you are making the camera's sensor, you're making it more sensitive to light. So usually on these cameras, or especially a few years back, the ISO was really not that good. So I would prefer to rather shoot in low light on my SLR camera, but with this one, the ISO range is actually pretty good. So you're going to start with 80, which will be your smallest and your least sensitive. So if you've got a lot of light in your scene, this is where you'll want to be most probably. So now I can increase it, and you can see this line can go all the way to 6,400. Now to give you an idea, here's the image an image taken at ISO 1600, and then when I'm zooming into 100%, this is what it's going to look like. And here's the same image, but now taken at ISO 6400, and then again shown to you at 100% zoomed in. And now just to give you an idea, when you compare the two, here's one section of the image on ISO 1600 and then 6400. Now when you look at the 6400, it's not that great, obviously, because I'm shooting at the maximum setting of this camera. But if you look at 1600, it's more than usable. So if you're in a situation where you can take an awesome picture and the camera just won't allow you to take the image, you can increase your ISO and you can get there. So the ISO performance on this camera is really very good. Just going to take it down, and I'm going to go out of that, and I'm going to go to function, because function is the last one that we need to look at. Now a function, you can see right at the top, it says automatic white balance. So you can set all your color settings right there. Then you've got bracketing, so you can take more than one image at different exposures. You've also got single shot, so you can tell the camera just take one image or take a lot of images. Basically you're holding in, if you take this one and you hold the shutter down, it's going to take a bunch of images. So you're going to hear the camera go while it's taking a bunch of pictures. And I tested the camera out on my dogs while I threw a ball to them, and I was very impressed at how fast the camera focused and could keep track of the dogs and continuously kept shooting. I actually got a whole bunch of very well focused images. So I must say I really am impressed with how the camera handled that, because usually your cheaper cameras suffer to keep focus of the subject if the subject is running around. Then you can also adjust your flash power, so you can use your flash here at the top, the pop-up. Then this one is your metering mode, so you can tell the camera how it's looking at light. And then we can set the image quality. Now this is not the image quality, this is the aspect ratio of the image. So normally your SLR camera will be on 3:2 ratio or 2:3 ratio. And on this camera it's going to give you 11 megapixels. And you'll be able to take pictures that are the same aspect ratio, the same proportions as your SLR camera. To use the full 12 megapixel on this camera, you're going to have to shoot on a 4:3 ratio, which is normal for this type of camera, so you can keep it on that. Now 12 megapixel might not sound that great, especially if you look at the camera shooting 16 or 18, but remember, megapixels are important, but it's not the end of the world. If the megapixels are too much and you've got a small camera, your images are going to look very, very poor. Now this camera's got a very nice Cmos sensor on the inside, which helps especially with the low light as well. So the camera's got a very good sensor, and I'm perfectly happy at shooting 12 megapixel on this. I don't need anything better. Now a very nice feature, which I must still play around with later on post, is the RAW function. Now you can use JPEG alone, so it's now only shooting 12 meg JPEG files, or you can tell the camera to shoot in RAW format, or you can tell the camera shoot both files for you. And then when we come to the image quality, we can tell the camera here, and as you can see, it can take an image up to an A2 size if you want to print it. So that's more than good enough. So you can choose large or medium or small, and recommended cards are so cheap these days. Just buy a nice, fast, good large card, and then just put the camera on large and the best quality. You're not going to regret it later on. Right, so when we shoot videos, we can see here we've got 1080, 1920 by 1080, and then that's a full HD one, 1920 by 1080, and then you've got the HD 720, which is 1280 by 720, and then you can shoot the normal 640 by 480, which is on all the cameras from a few years back. They were shooting in that, and you can see obviously the more you increase your size, the less minutes you're going to get. So the more I go with the size, I'm going to get less on the recording. So that's all the settings on the function button. It's very easy to get to them, which is also very nice. You just press function and you've got access to all those options, which makes it very, very easy. Now that we have looked at the features and some sample images and videos, I think you'll agree with me that this is really a very awesome little camera. And perfect if you want to start out with photography and you don't have maybe the budget now to go for SLR cameras and all the flashes and gadgets, because trust me, when you go SLR, you never go back. You will keep continuously buying lenses and flashes and new gadgets, and it can be very expensive. So if you're starting out and you don't have the budget, this is a very good option to start with. You've got a very nice zoom macro, you've got a flash at the top, but you can use the hot shoe, you've got full manual settings, so this is a very good option. Or if you already have an SLR camera and you've got an external flash and everything, but your gear is just too big, this can also be a very good companion for you, where you can take it everywhere you go. So you've now seen sample videos, images, and you've heard me rambling on about what's on this camera. Now you can make your own decision to see if this is your next purchase or the next camera that you want. So that's that for this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave some comments down below, and visit the website and the blog, and then also go visit the sponsors' website, which you can see right here. And then I will see you in the next video.